this last section just talks about specific patterns that you guys might see. So the first one would be a sum and difference of the same value in two binomials. And that's what this first one is here. So if you have, and we talked about conjugates before, that's what this is. So if you have a plus b times a minus b, and a and b are just some number value, what always happens is you don't have a middle term. So you don't end up with a trinomial. You end up with the first term squared, the second term squared, and it's always the difference because it's a negative times a positive. So in your example, x plus 4 times x minus 4, x squared is x squared, 4 squared is 16, always a minus. So another pattern you guys might see is a square of a binomial. Again, we've talked about these. You could have a positive or a plus, so a plus b squared. You could also have a minus b squared. So whatever this first sign is what's going to be your sign in your trinomial. So it's always just like above, you have your a squared in the front, you have your b squared at the end, but it's always double those two terms multiplied together in the middle. So if you look over at your example, y plus 3 squared, we have our y squared, our 3 squared is 9, y times 3 doubled, y times 3, 3y times 2 is 6y, gives you that middle term. And it always matches, so positive and positive. So that last one, which we don't really use very often, but it gives you an example of the cube of a binomial. So it gives you a plus b cubed and a minus b cubed. So again, you have the a cubed and the b cubed at the beginning and end, and then it's just triple, but there's two terms in the middle instead of just one. 3 times your a squared times b, and then you would add 3 times your a term times your b term squared. Again, this one's a little bit much to remember, and we won't really work with it too much, but you guys have seen these top two before, and those are the main ones that we'll work with. So if you go down and try number 6 and 7, number 6 you guys should be fine. Remember, either distribute or do your 2 by 2 box to multiply, and then combine your like terms. 7 is exactly the same. 4x minus 3. Remember, we are not just distributing that squared power in there. It's just 2 of your 4x minus 3. So this becomes 4x minus 3 times 4x minus 3. And then again, you guys can multiply it out. Now I am going to do that bottom example with you guys though, only because it gets a little messy. Mn minus 6 cubed. So it's going to be 3 mn's minus 6's. So I'm just going to write it out 3 times. Now remember what I said. You can't physically multiply 3 things at once. So you can only do 2 of the 3 at a time. So we'll do those 2 first. So I like to FOIL, but you guys could do a box and do mn 6, mn and 6. There's no problem with that. So mn times mn is 2 of them both. And then mn times negative 6, negative 6mn. Then your negative 6 times mn will give you the same thing again. And negative 6 times 6 gives you 36. So that's your first 2 multiplied together. And I'm just going to combine that negative 6mn and negative 6mn. It just gives you more mn's. It gives you a total of negative 12. You will probably get sick of hearing me say mn by the time we are done this little video. So now we can multiply this trinomial by that last one. So one more time we have to multiply. So your first m squared n squared times both of those terms. So now we'll have m cubed and n cubed squared times a degree of 1. And then times your negative 6. So negative 6m squared n squared. Now we need to then multiply your negative 12 mn to both of them. So negative 12, and now they're squared. M times m, n times n. And negative 12 times negative 6 is 72. And then the last thing we have to do is multiply the 36 times both of them. So 36 times nn is 36mn, and 36 times negative 6 is negative 216. All right, so what can we combine that is like? Well, we only have the single cubed term, so that will just stay m cubed, n cubed. That's gone. I'll cross these off as I use them. Then we've got our m squareds, n squareds, so negative 6 and negative 12 of those gives us negative 18 m squared, n squared. Done with them. Then our mn's, 72 plus 36 is 108. Mn, done with those, minus 216. So it does get a little bit messy, but as long as you guys pay attention to the degrees, so like if you're on squareds or cubes or whatever it might be, and just keep track of everything, you'll be fine.